Hello, welcome back to Custom Gamer. My name is Daz, and this is the show where we talk about level design while playing cool maps. So this is part 3 of Calamity by Cardona. Hit the annotations on the screen to go back to the beginning if you missed any of the other parts. So we're just about getting into the Combine Citadel now, we're right next to it. And this is where the mod really takes a steep difficulty incline. So you can see here there's another reuse of the lift mechanic, which I think is quite cool. Once you pick up on it though, it's very, very easy to just kind of, you know, send a combine ball into the lift and just annihilate everything. I think there's perhaps room for a little bit of fun with the lift. So you perhaps have a couple of lifts where combine pour out, the player gets into a rhythm of when they see a lift they expect that, and then you could kind of have a lift where nothing comes out. I thought it'd be kind of funny if as a player, you look in the lift, find out why nothing has come out, and there's like a bomb in there, or you know, a cluster of grenades that are about to go off or something. That'd be really fun. Change up the player's expectations like that. So yeah, this is the kind of foyer, I suppose you could call it. And it's just complete combine architecture from here on out. Generally it's done very, very well. Feels completely in line with what you see in Half-Life 2 and its associated episodes. I love the use of the really kind of hard-edged spotlights on the walls, that's really cool. There's a very decent combine vibe to it. And of course we've got the Ramiro lifts all over the place, which is another classic combine element. Let's speed this part up a bit, shall we, because there's only so much you can say about going downwards in a lift. So one thing that really bothers me about this whole combine section is that all the combine force field generators you see here are always using their on skin, which actually causes some problems later on where you expect there to be a combine force field in place when actually you can walk straight through the door. The author doesn't change the skin to off when the force field is off, which is a real shame. It may not sound like that big of a deal, but stuff like that is always communicating to the player the state of things. And generally when you see those combine force field pillars, if there's no kind of energy emanating from them, then the player understands they can walk straight through. And of course the combine force field graphic that actually blocks your path doesn't actually appear until you get closer to the object, so it's very, very important to actually show the state from far away. There's some other strangeness you can see here as well, like the wall clamps actually stick out, which is a bit of a shame as well. Looks a bit weird. Yeah, you can see there, like, all these combine force fields have the graphics on, even the ones you can walk through. So this next area, after you go down this next slow lift, is a puzzle area. And the actual puzzle mechanic is quite fun actually. But this area has a couple of problems which I didn't really like. So you can see here you've got this big rotating kind of core in the middle. And it's got various slices cut out of this cylinder. And each cylinder rotates at different speed. So what you end up having to do is finding the cut in each cylinder and dropping down to the next one. And timing your fall so that you don't kind of fall through a bunch of cylinders at the same time and take falling damage. Which of course I do, because, you know, I'm terrible at games or something. Now, if it was just this, I think it would have been quite fun. But the problem is that it's actually quite hard to kind of look around your environment while you're on this rotating platform, while trying to avoid the gap in the platform at the same time. It actually takes up most of your time to do that. And then the author kind of introduces enemies into that mix as well, which I think pushes it a little bit too much over the edge. It can actually become very, very frustrating, where you either fall to your death because you're concentrating on enemies and don't see a hole in the cylinder coming up, or you're concentrating on trying to not fall off this cylinder and an enemy will kill you. I had a lot of problem with this area. I died probably about 5 or 6 times trying to finish this, and I was very, very frustrated by the end of it. I'm going to cut all that out for you guys, of course, because it'd just be boring as hell to watch, so this is just my first try, and then we'll just cut to the successful attempt straight after. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit too much to handle all at once, especially when one little mistake can just send you flying off this pillar and to your death. But yeah, I like the idea of it. The other annoying thing is that there's no real autosave on this thing, so even if you get right to the bottom rung and then die, you have to start right from the top again. I think an idea could have been perhaps break it into manageable chunks with like an autosave in between, have like a quote-unquote safe area where you can autosave, perhaps pick up some health and armor and stuff. Yeah, nice idea. Implementation has a couple of issues, I think. Would have been nice to have something a little bit better highlighted at the bottom as well. It's not really clear where you're meant to be going, apart from not there. It's an issue I had with a couple of areas where it's not actually very clear what your goal is in a lot of these rooms, apart from you just have to kind of look around and find the next door. But there's nothing really leading you around. I mean, Combine architecture by its very nature is very minimalist. But even so, Valve managed to find ways to actually guide the player around using the environment in Half-Life 2. I think some of that visual language is missing here. And we're basically just finding Combine Elite all the time now. So the enemy variety takes a bit of a dip as well. There's a couple of man-hacks here and there, but really Combine Elite, just fighting them constantly, can get a little bit repetitive after a while. You can see here more force fields without the graphics turned off, so that's another symptom of not being led around, I guess. Is that the actual graphics in the level aren't showing you what routes are available and what routes are closed.
Overwatch acknowledges critical oxygen breach. Airwatch augmentation.
So I do like this area a bit. So the author in the last room did show us one of these Combine ball holders. It's in the center of this room. And then he just kind of leaves the player here to work out how to close off these force fields. So I just kind of noticed the Combine balls trapped behind this thing and knocked them all out. Seemed to work great. And again, this area, I think this area suffers a bit from not showing the player the end goal as well. So I figured just run across the bridge and get to the other side, but nope. I don't think there's quite enough timing there to actually get the player to avoid the death trap. I kind of noticed it when it was way too late, so I just kind of fell to my death instantly. Would have been nice if there was perhaps you know, some warning lights came on and perhaps a siren or something. So on my next try I went over this side, and what I found out is that these Combine just keep on coming. There's just an auto spawner back there, and until you exit this room they'll just keep on spawning. And so You're actually meant to jump over this way and go through this door. Unfortunately, I didn't notice it. It's a bit of a shame. Probably because the corridor back here is completely unlit, so you really don't notice it. If there was a strong backlight in that corridor, perhaps one of those combine area lights lighting it up, I don't think that area would have been as much of a problem, but the door just didn't even look open to me the first time through, and the second. Now I like this area because the author's changing up the introduction of the combine. They're not just running through a force field at you, they're actually cutting through a wall to come and get you. Which in itself doesn't really make much sense, but it's just another interesting way to introduce enemies, rather than them just running around a corner or through a force field, which we've seen 100 times over by now. So it's nice to have a bit of variation there. Probably could have used these to take out chunks of combined soldiers, but never mind. The AR2 seems to do a pretty competent job. So again, this room suffers from the same problem about having the force field doors remain in their on state even when you can walk through them. So this area contains all the combined train things. Of course one of them is missing, that's the one with the bomb on. So I looked at these two doors and I figured that there were force fields there. So I didn't bother to go and check them further. So I actually got a little bit stuck in this area because I was trying to work out where to go, when in fact the way forwards was right in front of me. But because of the graphical state of the doors, I didn't check any further. Which is why you really want to be careful with stuff like this. Always make sure you're using the correct state. So here we are, I can actually walk through here. And this is the final arena. The setup here is quite nice, so you can see the train below you. It kind of gets raised up through a platform in the floor. And then you have to survive 3 minutes while it goes to the end of the tracks and the bomb is activated. Now I like the fact that this is visual, so you can kind of judge how much time you have left to go just by looking at the state of the train. Which is great, there's no like clunky timer on the screen or anything like that. And you just have to survive against, I'm guessing, an infinite wave of combined soldiers until the time limit comes up. I mean, as an arena, this is quite hard. I failed it quite a few times until I realised that the combined suit chargers are completely overpowered. So you can basically just stand by the suit charger, just recharge your stuff constantly, and just kill the combined soldiers as they come at you. Didn't do that on my first try because I completely forgot that the combined suit chargers actually regenerate you for a whole lot more than the standard ones do. So you've got a little bit of cover with these pillars. I just wish there's a little bit more variety in the fight, so you're basically just fighting wave after wave of combined elite here like this. There is an occasional wave of manhacks, perhaps it's just one wave of manhacks. They can actually be really annoying. I would have really liked it if perhaps the combined elite had stopped and then perhaps a strider blows a hole in the wall and you have to fight that or something. There's something to change it up a little bit because it just gets very, very repetitive after a while. Another thing I did like is that the actual ambience in the level kind of gets more and more intense as you get further along. So you've got the hum of machinery in the background which slowly gets louder and louder and faster and faster. You've got all these alarms which turn on. It's a nice way to increase the pressure as you get closer to the end. Yeah, this is the end here. I didn't deal with the manhacks fast enough and they just take your health down. And there's a lot of them like that. So we'll skip to the successful attempt. So you can see here the beam on the train turns red when you're about to complete it. There you go.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
So the extra is actually quite long, which I like. It's not just like a complete fade to black or you just walk up to the G-man and it ends or something. There's actually a little bit of thought and effort put into it, which I like. There's a nice vista here as kind of a reward for finishing the game, which I thought was very, very cool. You get to see the Combine Citadel in its construction phase, which I thought was really cool to look at. Really great idea to see it being built. I'm guessing this particular incursion wasn't successful in blowing it up, as it's still there in Half-Life 2. And then we are returned to Black Mesa. Which again was another nice touch of nostalgia at the end. So, that was Calamity by Bobby Cardona, released in 2009. Overall I did enjoy it. There was a couple of annoying sections which probably could have been avoided. But for the most part I did enjoy this map quite a lot, especially the outside parts of the first couple of maps were really, really well done. They looked gorgeous, they had fun gameplay. I wasn't too keen on the Combine part at the end, just for the reasons I mentioned while playing it. It ended up being quite annoying to play through. Oh yes, and of course the music I didn't like. Just because I don't think it fits too well in with the Half-Life theme. So, what's next? Probably be doing a video for SOC's new Quake 1 single player map, which was released last week I think. I've been playing through it a couple of times, so I'll get a video done of that fairly soon. Oh yes, as you may or may not have noticed, lambdageneration.com is now back online, and I'm a content author over there, doing a lot of level design articles and general modding articles, kind of reviews and stuff like that. I've got a couple of articles up on the site already. I've got a review of Underhell and some other general articles. I'll be posting there whenever I put out a new video, with a little bit of background on the video. So go there and check it out. There's loads of other sections as well with just all kinds of Valve Half-Life news. So do go and check it out. It's lambdageneration.com. And I will see you guys next time.